What it do, YouTube? It's your boy Sense, and you back with Common Sense Reactions. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you with the content. Today we just gonna deal with politics again. Like, I know this. I know you like Trey. This nigga always trying to educate us and show, try to teach us some shit, nigga. I want to talk about the bullshit. Like, I get it. Like, I like the bullshit too, and I'm gonna address it. Like, if you see anything else out there that's bullshit and you want me to talk about it, drop a comment. Let me know what I should address, or even include a link to it. You know what I'm saying? And we'll talk about it. But it's like, if you want to leave it up to me, I'm gonna talk about the shit that's naturally, you know what I mean, I'm interested in. And I'm interested in the bullshit. I'm interested in the world. So we're gonna talk about this today. It's Project 2025. I like to watch this channel called Breaking Points. It's an independent news channel, and they tend to give like less bias opinions. There is still bias because they're human beings. We all carry biases and we all lean into them a little bit, consciously or unconsciously. You know what I'm saying? But this is one of the better platforms that I watch. You know what I'm saying? So here we go.
Speaking of attacks that Democrats really want to stick to Republicans, at least, should we move on to Project 2025, Crystal?
Let's do it. This is like, you got to do your conservative explainer for me of what the hell's going on here.
Well, you know, it's funny because the media has constructed this amazing myth of Project 2025 that is, you know, Donald Trump himself recently said that there's some fine points in it and some, what did he say, absolutely ridiculous points in it that he doesn't agree with at all. But basically, the Heritage Foundation is the premier think tank, conservative think tank in D.C. It is the biggest and most influential think tank on the right. And they've put out what's called their Mandate for Leadership since the 1980s. And it's like a 900-page book this cycle. Project 2025 is what they, you know, relabeled it because they also coupled it this year, which the part that, you know, if I were sitting back and going to describe anything as a vast right-wing conspiracy, they did couple it with this personnel recruitment search that a lot of conservative groups started doing and actually realized they had to start doing during the Trump administration, when, you know, it's no secret the conservative movement has wanted to like gut the administrative state literally for decades. The Heritage Foundation itself attacked Ronald Reagan for not abolishing the Department of Education in the middle of the 80s. So, you know, they think they have a real shot at achieving some of this stuff with Trump, and some of it is going.
I don't understand. As a culture and as society, how do you expect to grow and eliminate your Department of Education? Like, do you think your education system's that good? Do you think that it's doing such a good job right now, that the kids are flourishing so well and that everything is going so good that you should, yeah, you don't need it no more? Department of Education, nah, get rid of that. Why? Bro. I'm not gonna specifically critique Americans because I'm not American, so I don't wanna ruffle y'all feathers. You know what I'm saying? But people in general are stupid as fuck. You know what I mean? If you look at America and the things that we're going through in this country right now, bro, it's just a lot of like ignorant, dumbass people, bro. I don't think the solution for that is to get rid of the education department. Like, especially black communities. Black communities are already struggling with their education and the educational services in their communities. So, you know, I heard a lady call into the Breakfast Club the other day, and she was specifically complaining about that, the education system, and how was dealing with her children. And she's like, we need better education systems. We need better systems, you know. And I feel like, I'm hoping that's what the education department does. So why would you try and get rid of that? And it's not just black people. It's like, that's just the narrative, right? But, you know, there's a lot of poor white people as well. and they're dealing with a lack of education. That's why they join the military or they join mining corporations or whatever, because they don't have the education to get well-paying jobs or well-paying safe jobs or whatever the case may be. Like they just file into whatever requires the least of you. You probably don't have to have a high school diploma to work in a mine. You probably don't. I mean, the military has, I think, a high school diploma mandatory requirement. You know what I mean? So there's at least that there. But other than that, it's not too much else they ask of you. You know what I'm saying? So these poor white folk are going into these jobs because of lack of education. So maybe that's why they're trying to take it away so that more people will join the military. I don't know.
Going to be extremely unpopular with the American people. Democrats realized that and sort of took what was fairly commonplace. I mean, Heritage Foundation had been handing these books out. They still are. They were at NatCon recently. They had stacks of these big 900-page Project 2025 Mandate for Leadership books, just kind of handing them out. They weren't trying to be secretive about it at all. In fact, they were trying to get these books in everyone's hands. The other, if you're going to say there's a vast right-wing conspiracy element of this, is they teased a 100-day plan for the first 180 days of any Republican president who were to win in 2024. For a while, there were a lot of people in, circles here in D.C., conservative circles in D.C., heritage circles in D.C. who wanted that person to be Ron DeSantis. It wasn't just about Donald Trump. So that's my basic, because there has been, to borrow a phrase, disinformation surrounding it. Some of it is fine because it's partisan attacks from Democrats that are being constructed to win an election, which is a totally normal thing that both sides do. Then when it gets kind of parroted by the media, I think is where that's confusing. But it's fairly standard stuff. At the same time, fairly standard for a conservative movement group like the Heritage Foundation is not going to be appealing on a mass scale. So that's my basic rundown before we jump into the news of what happened yesterday, Crystal.
Yeah, go ahead and break down the news, and then I can give my view of Project 2025, which is similar.
Okay, so I heard a lot about this Project 2025 stuff, and a lot of, Democrats or liberal people are glorifying this as Trump's plan, and that this is his playbook, and this is specifically his idea. So it's interesting to find out that this is not an idea that he created. We're going to find out if this is an idea that he believes in and wants to follow. Like they already said, he found some stuff in there interesting, and then some of it he found absolutely ridiculous and crazy, and he has no interest in it. So we're going to find out which stuff he finds viable and which stuff he is against, hopefully, in this short segment. Because, yeah, like she said, the liberals are going to do whatever they have to make it seem like this is his playbook. And it's up to us to decide, what he truly believes in, what he's down to push, and what he's not. You know what I'm saying?
2 years, but different in some respects.
Right. Okay. So I'm excited about that. Now, Project 2025 has become a huge lightning rod because Democrats, and I think smartly, have realized they can pin this on Republicans running everywhere. They can create this myth of Project 2025 and hang it around the necks of Republican candidates, Donald Trump. Trump threw cold water on.
It's working. It's working because, definitely my pops has told me about it. You know what I mean? A lot of my really liberal friends and stuff like that are telling me about it, and they all sound scared about it. They're telling me, yo, check it out. This is his plan. This is his plan. Bro's crazy. I'm like, I know the nigga crazy, but I don't feel like he crazy. Like, he crazy for sure. Like, he gonna do some messed up stuff for black people when he get in. But he's also gonna do some great things for the economy. And if you understand how to stay out the way, stay out of trouble, and take advantage of the openings, I feel like, you could do well.
on that right away. He was basically, which was shocking, because the Heritage Foundation definitely felt like they had, done this with veterans of a prior Trump administration and people who would be staffing a Trump administration, probably the same people would be staffing, potentially a DeSantis administration or any of these Republicans. They felt like they were in good shape. So what happened yesterday, all of this really came to a head. Let's go ahead and put B1 up on the screen. So Roger Sullenberger at the Daily Beast first reported that Paul Dans, one of the top guys at Project 2025, was leaving. And Sullenberger said this meant that, Project 2025 looked like it was about to shut down. The Heritage Foundation then came out and said, no, Paul is leaving because our timeline was always that we wrap these mandates for leaderships up after the election. And Kevin Roberts, the president of the Heritage Foundation, said Project 2025, we're extremely grateful to him and everyone's work on Project 2025 and dedication to saving America. Our collective efforts to build a personnel apparatus for policymakers of all levels, federal, state, and local, will continue. So that the kind of mandate for leadership policy blueprint part of Project 2025 shutting down, but this online portal where you can submit yourself to potentially work in a future Trump administration or Republican administration in general on the federal, state, and local level, still up and running. And again, Crystal, to the point where there is something that's sort of weird about it or vast right-wing conspiracy about it, that's the part that I think probably a lot of people would look to. So let's put B2 up on the screen. This all started rolling down the hill yesterday. Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita, they're the head of the Trump campaign. They took a victory lap. They didn't even, they didn't have to say a word about Project 2025. They didn't have to do anything about it. But they said reports of Project 2025's demise would be greatly welcome and should serve as notice to anyone or any group trying to misrepresent their influence with President Trump and his campaign. It will not end well for you. That is just so Trumpian in tone and everything like that. So let's also move to, before we do that, Crystal, this is B3. This is, you suggested this Vox article on explaining Project 2025, which at one point there were more people Googling Project.
So I guess these guys at Project 2025 are basically trying to mislead people into believing that they have the full support of Trump and that they're working in collaboration with his platform. And, I guess, Jared Kushner came out through some cold water on that. We not fucking with them niggas like that. Them is not our people. You feel me? So I feel like that's good. It could be a lie. You know what I'm saying? He could be just trying to tamp down the whole hysteria over them being associated with Project 2025. But I think it's good that they're distancing themselves.
2025 than Taylor Swift. In the last couple of months, that was a real thing because it's been in so many ads. It's been, I've had random people who don't follow politics that closely asking me hey, what's the deal with Project 2025? Should I be worried about it? Blah, blah, blah. And my response would be it's pretty standard conservative movement stuff with some new right stuff thrown in for the better and the worse. If you're trying to sell it to the American public, for the better, there's some interesting stuff on labor. For the worse, it goes in some interesting directions on social issues. But as you've kind of looked into this, what do you make of Project 2025?
Well, I think it's terrifying in the same way that ideological conservative government is terrifying to me and frankly to a lot of Americans who are reading this and are like, holy shit, that's what you guys want to do here. Some of the language is jarring, right? There's this line that says pornography should be outlawed. The people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned. Educators and public librarians who purvey it should be classed as registered sex offenders, and telecoms and tech firms that facilitate its spread should be shuttered.
Can you imagine Donald Trump doing that?
Still think that is
Bro's not doing none of that. Bro's a little freaky ass nigga, bro. You know what I'm saying? Unless he knows that he can protect himself 100% from having to go to jail, bro ain't doing none of that. He want to be hiring strippers and peeing on bitches and all types of crazy shit. You feel me? So So bro is not doing none of that. You feel me?
Of course not. But this is, I mean, there's a reason why he has gone to great lengths to try to, distance himself from this and say, I have nothing to do with this. It's also interesting, too, because he never names specifically what his problem with it is. It's just like, some of it's fine and some of it is terrible. So, well, okay, well, tell me which parts are terrible. Which parts do you disagree with? About 2/3 of the...
This is what I was talking about. That's the problem, and he does that a lot, where he will just make blanket statements, but he will never nail himself down to a certain point so that you can never nail him down to a certain point. So he always gives himself wiggle room so that he can appeal to both sides. If you think it's too extreme, he can wiggle over here and be like, oh no, I don't believe in this, that, and the third. And then if he sees that a majority of his base is like into this type of concept, then he could lean into that and be like, yeah, no, that was pretty cool. Like I fuck with that. I'm down to work with that. But he always gives himself some wiggle room so that he can see where the wind's blowing and then just kind of like lean into that direction, which is what politics is. It's not ethical, guys. It's not ethical. People don't really have morals. People don't really stand on anything. They go wherever the power is. That's why my whole thing that I tell people is just like, use your power, use your voting power, like have, vote local and get into your local elections and start empowering the people who will actually do things for you. Because when they actually start to see that your communities are organized and that if y'all decide something ain't cool, then you can vote against it and affect their run, then people start actually catering to your community. But when you just vote for a person, no matter what their thing is, because of the color of their little tab, whether it's blue or red, you know what I'm saying? They don't respect you. They're not gonna give you any type of attention or help because they know they could already depend on your vote. Oh, I'm blue. They gonna vote for me anyhow. Fuck out of here. Like, you know what I'm saying? But if you like listen to what's being promised and you say, hey, if y'all don't give us this, we gonna vote over here. And they realize they've lost 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, a million votes, whatever. They gonna be like, damn, like, you know what I mean? Next time we gotta pay attention to these people because they can impact what I want to do with myself and my career.
Authors come from the Trump administration. There were 140 different Trump administration officials who were involved in drafting it. As you said, I'm sure all the people who were
That's scary. There's 140 different Trump officials that were involved in drafting this crazy piece of rhetoric that everybody's kind of tweaked out over. That's scary because what if he brings them back? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of scary people around Trump that have some very scary ideologies. But when I say Trump's the best option, it's just the world's gonna go down either way, bro. Not to depress anybody, but we have to reach a point where we hit rock bottom before we start unifying, creating new systems that are more inclusive and that are healthier for human beings. So the system has to crash. So it's better that it crashes now than later. You know what I mean? And if we can all get a little bag in the meantime before it crashes, I feel like he's the best option to gather that bag and before the crash. You feel me? He's probably gonna bring the crash. You know what I'm saying? Because socially, we're all gonna be at each other's heads, at each other's throats. You feel me? But that's coming regardless, because people are just getting frustrated with how they gotta live. You know what I mean? And they don't know where to place blame. And these systems that we're under, they don't really serve us that well. You know what I'm saying? So it's all gonna come down. But just try and get your bag. Try and make sure that you and your family are straight, so that when it does, you could get up out the way and be safe.
Involved. In fact, I'm curious your view of their reaction to the Trump, trashing it and all of that, because I'm sure they thought, oh, we're part of the team. We're doing the work that's going to help this next administration. We're going to be in line for jobs. He's claiming he's not going to take anyone on who is affiliated with Project 2025 at all. So shockingly, I actually think the Democrats did a good job of messaging on this, because I never would have expected it to gain the popular traction that it did. And I think part of it is just that the name Project 2025 sounds really ominous and vast right-wing conspiracy-ish. So there's that. But the other problem for the Trump people is, like, you know, with the J.D. Vance pick, the dude just wrote the foreword for the book of the Project 2025 dude. And he said in that, we could put B5 up on the screen. He said literally in that foreword, the Heritage Foundation isn't some random outpost on Capitol Hill. It is and has been the most influential engine of ideas for Republicans from Ronald Reagan to Donald Trump. So that also hampers their ability to say, oh, we hate this, we want nothing to do with it. Okay, well, why did you pick someone who was so closely affiliated with it for your ticket? And, you know, we'll talk more about that.
See, that's what I was talking about earlier, where I said it could be a lie. Like, Kushner might just be trying to distance their campaign from, you know, the negative aspects of this, the Project 2025 whiplash. See, this is an example of what I was talking about. Thank you, appreciate it. Hey, big head. So yeah, you know, but so it looks like they're just trying to hide their hand. You know what I'm saying? They playing the game.
With the ladies, and I'm curious their view and your view as well. But, you know, the two issues where the Trump campaign really feels like they have a problem are abortion and Project 2025. And Vance brings massive baggage to the ticket on both of those issues.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, that Vance as a pick shows me that Trump has absolutely no interest in trying to play the middle. Like, this time around, he's going to be keeping a cabinet that's full of extremists and that people who are willing to go the extra mile for whatever he wants to do. Hey, mamas, come out of there. Come out of there. Don't touch. Don't touch. Come out. Leave it. Leave it. You're going to hurt yourself. Come on. Anyhow,
With that, although I wonder to what extent this will make it really hard to keep using the Project 2025 attack. I don't know, actually, because to the point about what Vance wrote in that foreword, Heritage was taking money from defense contractors and big tech companies up until Kevin Roberts took over. And Kevin Roberts is very much an ideological fellow traveler of Vance. I talked to him about this recently. And that's where the Heritage Foundation felt like, of course, this is a worthwhile endeavor, that if we want any future Republican president to have a shot at enacting real conservative priorities without being undermined by people who work at, a great example would be like the EPA. And that's a great example of why some of this would be terrifying to someone on the left, Crystal. Like, they want to be able to make huge sweeping changes at the EPA. I would love huge sweeping changes at the Department of Education that would probably be terrifying to you and Ryan. And it's hard to do that if you don't have the personnel, which was a huge problem in the Trump administration. It would be a problem in any administration, just because there are a lot of like people that want to do that, and we can get into why and all of that. But I do wonder about the future of these attacks, because let's play. This is a crazy story. Let's play this next clip of J.D. Vance. Really, I just can't emphasize enough how important the sentiment that he's expressing in this clip is, because it has come to be widely adopted by people on the right, many of whom Saagar and I know. This is very much what they see as the most important sentiment to bring to the table in American politics from a conservative perspective now. So this is J.D. Vance in 2021, and it was posted by the Kamala Harris campaign rapid response account on Twitter.
I think that the thing that we have to take away from the last 10 years is that we really need to be really ruthless when it comes to the exercise of power. I was talking about this with someone earlier today, where you remember there was some threat that congressional...
Bro, did that man say we need to be really ruthless when it comes to the exercise of power? Alright, look, guys. Both sides are becoming more extreme. Only difference is that the liberals are doing it in quiet ways and the Republicans are doing it in loud ways. Liberals are over-censoring everything, censoring messages that are true but inconvenient to the narrative, trying to buy up platforms or put legal pressure on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, which is why, you know, a person like Tesla dude, my mind isn't working right now. Well, you know who I'm talking about, though. Why people like him bought platforms like X to try and keep it a free zone, because he can't be pressured. He won't be pressured. He refuses to be pressured into all of this over censorship and just trying to stop counter narratives from coming out. That's what all the censorship is about. Like, for example, you know, during the COVID thing, they were censoring any information on the disease. Coming from, you know, China, or having any, like, these were Democratic pushes. Like, even though there was a Republican president at the time, but like these things that happened were like Democratic pushes. They were touted as Democratic House. Was it the House that they had for that time? Anyhow, they were touted as Democratic wins, right? You know, any information, anybody who was questioning the vaccine and saying, wait, hold on, maybe we should do a little bit more research before we just push this into our bodies. Like, is this safe? You know what I mean? All of the Democratic, liberal media sources all came together to push this narrative that if you didn't want to take the vaccine, you were irresponsible, you were a disgusting person, you were a conspiracy theorist, you were this, you were that, you were this. Like, every night show was making fun of people for it. Every daytime show was making fun of people for it. All the celebrities came out and made fun of people. It was all just social pressure to make you feel like you're dumb, or you're crazy for not wanting to take this vaccine. And then years later, now we're finding out the vaccine actually was killing people, is hurting people, is like causing heart attacks and stuff like this. You know what I mean? And people are otherwise 100% healthy. So, you know, I'm sure I'm gonna get a little thing down here at the bottom talking about false information too, which is what I'm talking about. It's all just part of the it's just part of the time that we're in. So we're just in scary times, really, honestly. You know, no matter which way you vote. So my advice is to vote where you think you're going to be able to make the most money for the next phase of humanity. And like I said, it's going to get rough. Make your money, man. Make your money and try and start setting up where you can go, how you can get low with your peoples, and try and wait it out. It's going to get sticky, bro. It's going to get sticky.
Senate Republicans made, if you get rid of the filibuster, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And you actually look at it, it's like, oh, this is not that interesting.
We're going to actually deliver on our promises that we've made for decades.
Sounds
This is the threat. If you get rid of the filibuster, we're going to do this stuff. Like, they're talking about expanding the Supreme Court. They're talking about adding, 2 senators from heavily Democratic places.
You get rid of the filibuster, we'll actually deliver on defunding.
Do what the base has been telling us that we don't want to do.
Yeah. So
these cherry red white niggas just sitting around laughing, fat as hell, probably got diabetes, and these niggas probably think they're better than everybody else for some reason. Look at these cherry red ass. I do think the benefit of more culture entering the Republican Party is that it's going to have to, either the people who are voting Republican are going to have to silence their identity, and they're going to have to stay quiet when disgusting things are happening that involve their race, or the party's going to have to evolve and stop becoming so racially motivated, because I do believe that the Republican Party became the final resting place for racism and just prejudice in America.
Look, I am a cynic about this and maybe even a little bit of a pessimist, but I think the challenge confronting American conservatives is that we have lost every major powerful institution in the country, except for maybe churches and religious institutions, which of course are weaker now than they've ever been. We've lost big business, we've lost finance, we've lost the culture, we've lost the academy. And if we're going to actually really affect real change in the country, it will require us completely replacing the existing ruling class with another ruling class.
So, Crystal, the reason J.D. Vance's head is cut off in that video is because I filmed it. I actually filmed that video.
You're part of the vast right-wing conspiracy.
Yeah, of course. But, that was on Federalist Radio Hour 2021, summer of 2021. J.D. Vance was on as a guest. It was Ben Domenech and Chris Bedford. So I'm scrolling Twitter the other day and see this video, and I'm like, oh, someone pulled it. And then I looked at the account, and I was like, that's the Kamala Harris campaign. They used that clip to say that J.D. Vance endorsed 2025. Project 2025. What's really in that clip is J.D. Vance actually not, it's long before Project 2025 was an idea, but what he's endorsing is the underlying sentiment of Project 2025, right, which is that the right needs to seize the reins of administrative power. And that is something that is very real, very real.
Right. And so I think that clip gets into why J.D. Vance is struggling as a national candidate and why his favorability rating has, really tanked. And he was already the least favorable VP nominee in history and all this stuff, because that language and that sort of posture as a renegade revolutionary wanting to overthrow the administrative state and all this even like very specific niche right-wing online language plays very well in that circle. I'm sure people loved what he had to say there. But when you put it out to the general public, people are like, this sounds extreme, fringe, weird, you might say. This sounds scary. And then again, when you have the dude, writing the foreword for the Project 2025 author's book, makes it very difficult to get your fingerprints off of what they have planned. So, this has been.
So my position at this point is that this is real. This is something that Trump will be bringing into place. And you just gotta ask yourself, do you really care at this point? You know what I'm saying? Like, you really got to ask yourself, does it matter? Maybe I'm an idiot, right? Like, maybe I'm just a crazy, like, little, end of time preparist or whatever. And, like, so don't listen to me. I'm just giving you my opinion. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like regardless of who takes the reins this year, it's gonna be bad for people in general. You know what I'm saying? So But this stuff is damn near Nazi scary, bro. You know what I mean? And people think just because Trump survived the assassination, that means that he has some type of divine purpose. No, it doesn't. And if you actually look into history, which I do, you'll also find out that they tried to assassinate Hitler. They put a bomb, I think, or something like that, under his chair, and in their form of Congress or something like that, because he had won a seat in their form of Congress or whatever. I think they put a bomb in Congress and they intended to blow him up. But for whatever reason, he was late going or whatever the case may be. Anyhow, he didn't get blown up. You know what I'm saying? Would you say that that was divine intervention? That was God protecting him? No. It was just the nigga was lucky. Somebody protected him. But it doesn't mean that he was a good person or that he had any good plan for that country. And I guess if you're extremist German, you'd be like, oh, well, he did do good. We ended up taking over like half of the world. You know what I'm saying? And if that's your goal, then, you know, maybe the Trump thing is what you want. For that reason, that's not the reason why I want it. I want it because I'm like, everything's going to go down anyhow. If his presidency allows me to rack up some money, stash some money away, so that when shit gets wild, I could get these people that I love in this house away from all of the craziness, and we could be tucked out somewhere and, you know, taking care of ourselves and praying for the rest of the world while it happens. Then that's what I want, you know. But I just, you know, I just hope Americans don't allow it to go as far as I feel like this could go. But the other side of that, is that, you know, after that situation happened in Germany, it forced them to have to rebuild and restructure their society completely. You know what I mean? You know, obviously they went through a period of segregation, I believe. I believe there was like Eastern Germany and Western Germany that was like, you know, separated by the Berlin Wall or whatever. So there was still a period of turmoil, but once that period of turmoil was over, they kind of entered a new phase, and that new phase was a lot better and more inclusive and just a whole lot better society than they previously had. You know what I'm saying? I think the same thing will happen in America. Anyhow, that's it. There's a couple more minutes left in this. I don't really want to get into that. This video is already getting too long. We have 38 minutes. But you already know what to do if you fucking with the content. Hit like, comment, subscribe. Ignore my daughter wailing in the background. And you already know what time it is. Family, money, everything. Let's get it, baby. Whoa!